President Donald Trump said his wife Melania Trump goes through a lot with all this publicity, but lavished praise on the First Lady as a terrific woman who is doing great. But a lot of the publicity Melania Trump goes through is due to her husband's actions, policies, words, or tweets. The White House is currently embroiled in the fallout from his former fixer Michael Cohen's guilty pleas in federal court, which included an admission of campaign finance violations tied to payments made to two women who claimed to have affairs with Trump while he was married to Melania. Although she has generated press coverage on her own, usually through her fashion choices, such as the infamous "I really don't care, do you?" jacket she wore during a visit to the U.S. Mexico border, or her pussy bow blouse donned for a presidential debate. Given that the First Lady has given no media interviews she came into the White House, her fashion choices and her public appearances have to speak for her. Trump often lavishes praise on her and brags how she supports him and his work. "She is doing great. She's a terrific woman," Trump told Fox News in an interview that aired Thursday morning. "She goes through a lot with all this publicity. But she's a terrific woman, she's doing great." He also touts the First Lady's work at his campaign rallies and reassures the crowd she is watching at home. The First Lady has not spoken publicly about the alleged affairs Trump had with porn star Stormy Daniels and former Playboy playmate Karen McDougal, which the president has denied. She has maintained a private presence despite her public role, with the majority of her focus in the White House being on raising her 12-year-old son Barron. She also maintains her own causes, her own agenda and her own living habits. She and the president are said to have their own bedrooms both in the White House and, when they travel abroad, use separate hotel suites. Melania Trump has made her voice and opinions known through other means: statements via her communication director in the East Wing, promoting her Be Best campaign through carefully orchestrated events, and her fashion choices. And she will make her first, major, solo international trip in October, when she visits several countries in Africa. But those events can be overshadowed by her husband. Critics ask how she can focus on cyberbullying when her husband uses social media to lash out at those he sees as against him, and it was noted that her visit to Africa would be to places her husband referred to as S-hole countries. In June, Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer, said of the First Lady's thoughts on the Daniels allegations, "She believes her husband. And she knows it's untrue." Melania Trump's communications director fired back in a statement seen as a sharp rebuke of the legal team's spin. "I don't believe Mrs. Trump has ever discussed her thoughts on anything with Mr. Giuliani," Stephanie Grisham said at the time. The First Lady also backed out of Trump's trip to Davos, Switzerland, in January after scheduling and logistical issues prevented her from joining him, according to her office. But the abrupt cancellation came days after the Wall Street Journal's revelation that President Trump's personal attorney Michael Cohen paid Daniels to stay silent about the alleged affair. The First Lady instead made an unannounced visit to the Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, then jetted off to Florida for a spa day. She has made her differences with her husband's policies known. When she disagreed with President Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policy, which saw migrant children separated from their families, she made it known through a public statement via her spokesperson. Mrs. Trump hates to see children separated from their families and hopes both sides of the aisle can finally come together to achieve successful immigration reform, Grisham said. She believes we need to be a country that follows all laws, but also a country that governs with heart. Melania Trump also took a trip to the U.S. Mexico border to visit children affected, a visit that was overshadowed by her wearing a jacket that read "I really don't care, do you?" The president defended her fashion choice with a tweet explaining it was a message to the fake media, but the New York Times, citing a source close to the First Lady, reported it was directed at any critics who questioned why the First Lady's decision to visit the kids in light of the administration's tough policy. The East Wing has maintained it was just a jacket. The First Lady also issued a statement praising the work of basketball star LeBron James' work with kids, hours after President Trump insulted James on Twitter. It looks like LeBron James is working to do good things on behalf of our next generation, and just as she always has, the First Lady encourages everyone to have an open dialogue about issues facing children today, Grisham said. The East Wing also said the First Lady would be interested in visiting his school. The First Lady has made children her signature issue, announcing a Be Best campaign to encourage kids to be their best. The initiative got off to a slow start given that Melania Trump had kidney surgery in May, 5 days after she announced her new campaign. She has increased her focus on that issue in recent days, visiting a children's hospital in late July and attending a cyberbullying summit on Monday. Some critics questioned the First Lady's focus on bullying via social media given her husband's prolific use of Twitter, but her spokesperson, while acknowledging the criticism, noted Melania Trump would not be deterred. The First Lady's presence at events such as today's cyberbullying summit elevates an issue that is important to children and families across this country. She is aware of the criticism, but it will not deter her from doing what she feels is right. The president is proud of her commitment to children and encourages her in all that she does, she said. Melania Trump has also used her fashion choices to speak for her. In October 2016, during the presidential campaign, when a tape came to light of President Trump making derogatory comments about women in an interview with Access Hollywood, Melania Trump attended the next presidential debate wearing a bright pink pussy bow blouse. And she wore a white pantsuit to her husband's first State of the Union address in January of this year, in her first public appearance with her husband after the Daniels allegations became public. The white Christian Dior pantsuit was analyzed for its meaning. Was she wearing the color that suffragettes wore to give a message? Was she referencing Hillary Clinton, who wore pantsuits on the campaign trail? Was she contrasting herself with Democratic women, who wore black to the speech in support of the Number Meta movement? The First Lady is staying true to the independent woman that she is by doing things her own way, Grisham told The Times. This should be celebrated, not criticized. Her priorities remain her family, her personal health and her role as First Lady. She also told the newspaper, "No one tells the First Lady what to do.